Hello React Native developers, what is going on? Welcome to Can It Be Done in React Native? This week, we learn a new language. Hello guys, I hope you are well. William here, recording from beautiful Zurich, Switzerland. Speaking of beautiful Zurich, this week we are looking at an app which has been made with love in Zurich by a Zuricher, my friend Simon. I met Simon a couple of years ago now, already 2 years I think, in a place called Hour, which is a coffee shop where people who work remotely or are independent can go there and get some work done. So not only it's a space where you can really be very productive, we also met a lot of great people. So I'm definitely grateful for such a place to exist in Zurich. And there is a co-working space above called Impact Hub. It's just a very cool location. So the app, Learnji, what it does, it allows you to learn a language through emojis. So you can select different packs of emojis. Here I'm having 100 basic emojis. You can just scroll through them, or you can check the device to pick a random emoji, and then you can access the translation in 8 different languages. So extremely convenient when learning a language. For instance, I'm learning German at the moment, and so not only the vocabulary is very important, you also need to know the gender of the word. So it can be feminine, masculine, or neutral. So let's try a random one, checking the phone. Snowman, so I'm guessing that would be der Schneemann. Der Schneemann, okay. Let's try another one. Oh, okay. Up. Okay, 5, 6. Let's try another one. Night, die Nacht. Okay, I'm being lucky. I'm getting only easy ones. Let's see. Der Bus. Okay. Another one. Summer. Der Sommer. Yes. I'm being very, very lucky. Der Fisch. Tough one. Birthday. Der Geburtstag. Okay. Watch die Uhr. Okay. Der Zug. Okay, die Bahn. Der Apfel. Yeah, okay, you get it. I thought I would get some tricky ones. Der Umbrella. That would be Das Regenschirm. Schirm. Okay. Anyways, so I'm very excited to look at this app for 3 reasons. So first of all, this app is the original Can It Be Done in React Native. So I was barely starting with React Native development, and when Simon showed me this app he was working on, and basically this with these gestures, and like you can scroll and like you have lots of different gestures going on, I immediately, when I saw the app the first time, I was immediately like trying to think in terms of React Native development, how we could do this. So I would say that's really genuinely the first time I asked myself, can it be done in React Native? So I'm really glad that we are looking at this example. And since also I'm currently learning German, I go to school every day, every morning. This is also like an app example which is close to my heart. And the second reason I'm really excited about this episode is, as you can tell already, we're gonna do this using techniques we already know and love based from our previous episodes. And I mean, clearly here, if you've watched previous episodes, you can guess we're gonna use some hidden Scrollviews. So really, like, some techniques we've done already, and we're just gonna consolidate basically our techniques we've seen already. Maybe here so we have some Scrollviews, but maybe which are hidden. Maybe here we have a nested one because we can scroll vertically, horizontally. So yeah, we're gonna use techniques we know and love from the series. But, and that's the last reason I'm very excited about this example, is that we're gonna use a technique which we haven't used before and which I think I haven't seen anywhere else. And it's a technique that is enabled by Reanimated. So again, we're going to leverage the power of Reanimated to do something really, really new. And that's why I'm really excited. So we're going to use what we know and take it one step further. So yeah, how would we do this in React Native? Well, clearly, I would say there are three. If we look briefly at the app, there are three components. We have this pan here, which shows all the translation. So that's let's say the top component. We have the middle component, which is this list of emoji we can scroll. And then we have the last component at the bottom, which is essentially the translation in English, in the target language, like your mother tongue, basically. So three components, and then we have three animation values that are going to drive the whole interaction. So the first animation value is going to be the horizontal scrolling here that you see. So again, three components, and we're going to overlay basically three scroll views. So we have three animation values. Sorry, I'm getting too excited here. So this one, this second animation value here to drag up and down the pan, and then the third one is this one, this sliding. So three components, three animation values we have, and we're going to overlay basically three scroll views, which we're going to use to drive these animation values. We're going to pass them as parameter to our components to interpolate the right animations. So we have these three components, and we're going to overlay a nested scroll view here. So for the top half of the screen, we have one hidden scroll view, which is vertical, right? And this one is nesting another hidden scroll view, which is horizontal. And here we use a nested scroll view because instead of putting the component within the scroll view itself, because here you see the component is translated, but if I swipe on the white part, I can still, pull it down. So this is why we use hidden scroll view. And then here for the scrolling of the emojis, we don't have to use a hidden scroll view, but I'm going to use one anyway, just so we can really decouple our code nicely. So we have like these three components, three scroll views, completely decoupled, three animation values. So we have the hidden scroll views, which drive these animation values. We pass them as parameter to our components, which make, do what they need to do in order to render properly. And it's just a nice decoupling. But yeah, so basically we're gonna show the list of emojis, and then we need to interpolate the scale of the emoji, the opacity. So you see the ones which are not selected. Yeah, have some opacity. And here, I'm not sure if you can tell from the recording, but actually the emoji is not, it's very, very slightly pixelated because it's actually not, it's treated by Apple as an image and not as a vector. So I thought first we should, if we say size, I don't know, 38 pixels, it should be really displayed like in high resolution, and then we just need to scale down instead of scaling up. But actually that doesn't work, but it still looks pretty good. And then usually when we have, so we have the lots of text to change because we have to show the text in English. Basically every time we move something, we have to show all the translations. And so usually in this channel, the way we do it, right, is that we would listen. So we're going to listen to the X animation value here in the scroll, calculate at which index we are in the list of emoji. And once the index change, we would use a callback to the JavaScript userland and using request animation frame or some other, so request animation frame plus maybe some other like a throttle function or something, we would use set native props to display the translation in the right components without triggering a rendering in React. That's how we do it usually. And here we would have, usually in previous episode was like just a simple label. So we would have like just one element where we need to update the text value. So, you know, to use set native props, we need to use a text input. We need to keep a reference of the text input component and then use set native props on it. Here we have 8 different languages. So we would need to do this 8 times. So I was like, oh, that's, no, I'm too lazy to do that. So I was thinking of first using an animation value, because then we don't have to keep the reference of the component. We can just have one animation value for each language, and we display the translation. And then I realized actually that we could use this animation value without even crossing the bridge. So we can, every time here we scroll, we can actually change the values of the text without crossing the bridge. And so on iOS, it's anyways very, very performant and you don't drop any frames. But actually, if you use set native props in this situation, and you can actually try it on a slow Android device, you will get some frame drops. But using this technique, even on Android, we don't drop any frames. And I think it's super exciting, and it's only possible because we use reanimated and we can use strings and animation values. But what do you guys think? Can it be done in React Native? Let's have a look. And before we get started, 2 things. First, React Native elements. If you have a new React Native project coming up, I recommend you check it out. It is a premium starter kit for iOS and Android. It's basically 80% of what you need when starting a new React Native project, from all the boilerplate, static analysis, lots of beautiful UI components. So you can try it out on iOS through TestFlight, or Android through the Expo client, or by downloading the APK. If you have a new project coming up, I hope you check it out. So that's React Native elements. And if you like the videos, you can support the show and buy me a coffee. I will give you access to the private GitHub repository where I tinker with all these examples. And I will make sure to treat your requests for Can It Be Done in React Native in priority. So, all right, let's get started. So here I have a project which I set up with Expo init. I got the data from an open source project. We'll put the link in the video description. And I simply set up the 3 UI components which I mentioned before. So translations, which is this pan here, which we're going to use to slide all the, so slide up and down and slide from the left to right to see the different translations. Then we have the emojis component, which simply displays the emojis in a row. And here below the 3rd component, we simply display the English translation as a text. And if you want to follow along with this example, you can download the boilerplate from the video description as well. So let's get started. And so the first step we're going to do, so we have our 3 UI components. Now we need to build our 3 hidden scroll views. So that's going to be step 1. Step 2, we're going to use these animation values which are driven from the scroll views to build the different animations that we need to build. So here, the sliding of the emojis, sliding up and down of the pan, left and right, and finally using an animation value to display the proper translations and text. So let's get started. So we know that we have 3 scroll views. So one nested, so 2 which are nested with each other, that go from basically the middle minus half of the width of the emoji. And then which goes vertically, and then inside another scroll view which scrolls horizontally, and then we have this scroll view here in the middle which also is horizontal. So we know that we have 2 animated scroll views. So one which is nested, and the one below for the emojis. And we know also, 3 scroll views, 3 animation values, which I'm gonna create here. So maybe, maybe here. So we have, let's call it X for the list of emojis. Oops. Y for the vertical pan. And the one to slide within the vertical pan, we can call it maybe slider. So we have our 3 animation values, which I can import here. So animated from the danger zone. And we import value from animated. Okay. So here for each scroll view we have a couple of quite some boilerplate. So this one is vertical. The on scroll value. So here I'm gonna use one of my reanimated helpers. So on scroll, and we assign it to Y. Here we have an horizontal scroll view, and we assign the value to slider. And here we also have an horizontal scroll view. We assign the value to X. Yeah, I should set X actually equals slider. Then there is some other boilerplate we need for the scroll view, which we can take maybe from a previous example. Let's have a look at the footer one. Up. So show horizontal scroll indicator up here and here. Event scroll, here we can use one everywhere. Up. Bounce is false. So that looks good. Now we need to set the styling of our scroll views. So this one, the nested one, we're going to use an absolute fill. And for this one, we're going to need to set some style. Styles vertical pan, and we know it's half of the 8 minus half of the 8 of the emoji. So vertical pan. And we need to create some, and let's see, content container style also. So we have some, we need to make sure to make it twice the height of the scroll view. So we can scroll, I mean, not necessarily twice the height, but we need to have it bigger than the height of the scroll view, so there's something to scroll. So vertical pan, maybe I call it container or content. And same thing here. So we have horizontal pan content. All right, so let's create these styles. So horizontal pan, the 8 is the emoji width. So it should be called actually emoji size because the width and the height is the same. And here the width needs to be the emoji width times number of emojis, which we have here. And vertical pan, so again height is height divided by 2 minus horizontal pan 8, which is emoji width. So I actually can just yes, horizontal pan 8, and I have vertical pan 8, which I can set here. And here I guess for height I'm gonna set vertical pan 8 times 2, and this one, because these are overlaid on top of the UI component, they need to be absolutely positioned. So position absolute. And same for this one, except top is vertical pan 8. Okay, let's have a look. So animated. Oh. Okay. So looks good, but we don't know if there is anything. Actually, I was about to debug the animation values, you know, to see if something is moving before we use these animation values. But actually, let me do something else and simply put some background color. Here. And maybe, so this one looks good. Is that? Yeah, perfect. So our hidden scroll views are set. So that's step one. Step two, we're going to use these animation values to drive all the different animations. And I think we're going to start with the sliding of the emojis. So let me remove these guys. And so here we have the emojis component. We can pass the animation values that we need, which is X. So here we have X, which is type of value. Oops. So we have X here. Oops. And we need to do 3 transformations. I mean, the first one, because it's an index scroll view, is to actually have the emojis to scroll. So we're going to do a translate X. Then we know the emoji at the middle is bigger, so we're going to use a scale transformation. And finally, we know the opacity of the non-selected emojis is smaller, so we're going to use an opacity transformation. So 3 transformations to write. And so here I have my map over each emoji. So I'm going to refactor it in a block. That looks good. So we know that we have 3 transformations. Translate X, scale, and opacity, which we're going to apply here. And so this one becomes an animated view. Okay. Do I need to import animated? Yes. Perfect. And so we have opacity and then transform with translate X and scale. So we interpolate X, so translate X from X, input range. So we go from 0 to emoji with, and the output range goes from 0 to minus emoji with. Let's try it quickly. So X, do I pass X as parameter? Yes. X is an animation value, no problem. I have an animated view here, so that's good. Oh, sorry. So it's time -1. No. Scale 1. Is that because of... Okay, just have here some syntax issue. Let's have a look. So here it scrolls nicely. And then I have a variable here called emoji offset, which we use to define this center, which is with minus emoji with divided by 2, right? Half of the with minus half of the emoji size. So I can use it here. So we go from this, so from emoji offset plus -1 emoji with. Okay, so perfect. And then because this one doesn't depend on the on the value of the emoji, we can move it here. Very good. So now let's do scale. So scale, it's only if the emoji is selected essentially. So we know that current position is I times emoji with, and then we have the next one and the previous one. Previous is I -1 and I plus 1. That's next. So we can define input range as being previous position, current position, and next position. So we interpolate scale on X. We have input range, and output range goes from, let's say, so 1, maybe 1.3. Let's try. Here we can put any values, and 1, and we need to extrapolate. Clamp, extrapolate. So that looks good. Let's have a look. I need to import extrapolate. So that looks great. Now we need to do the same with the opacity. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. Just copy and paste. We have 1 and say maybe 0.5, I don't know. Let's have a look. All right, so that looks pretty good. So here we used the X value. Now we're going to use the Y value and slider animation value in this component to drive the pan, vertical pan animations. So let's get started. Can pass Y and slider as parameters. So we need to do translate Y, and we're going to just multiply Y by -1. So we have Y and slider. And we have max val because we saw that we couldn't translate up until a certain point. So we could still see parts of the vertical pan. So that's why we have max value here. So we're going to use a max. And I'm gonna use it here. So transform, translate Y. So that works pretty well. So you see, this is what max val does. So you still see the, and then we need to do the X, translate X. So we can do translate X equals multiply slider by -1. And okay, I know what's going on here. We forgot to set content container style for slider. So content container style, let's call it slider content. And slider content, the width is going to be the width of the screen times the number of languages -1 because English is below. So let's have a look. Okay, and yes, perfect. And as you can see here, we need to set a snap point, which is going to be the width. Snap point. I'm not sure that we would need to use, and here maybe, is it called deceleration rate fast, I think. I'm not even sure I really need to use hidden scroll views here, but I just like, no, did I broke something? So let me go back to this example, snap to interval with, okay, that's much better. Perfect, so now it snaps nicely. Oh, we need to have a snap point here as well, I guess, which would be vertical pan 8. Let's try. Yeah, so I'm not even sure I need to use hidden scroll views here, but I really like also the fact that, I don't know, I just find it simple that when things are decoupled actually. So here it snaps nicely, so that's perfect. And it snaps here as well. And again, maybe something we could, we should get, so here, show horizontal scroll force, show, that's good, but here we need to add show vertical scroll indicator false. So now last step, there is one last animation we need to drive, and it's going to be the translations. So we know X, and for X we're going to calculate the index at which emoji we are. And so we can define index as, we would divide X by emoji with, and we would round it. So I need to import round and divide. And now, actually, maybe we can just debug it quickly. Okay. Sorry. So let's see. Index 0. We need to add a snap. Also, we forgot, you see, because I can be in between two emojis. So we forgot also to add the snap point to the horizontal pan with the emoji with, snap to interval emoji with, perfect. And then, so that looks great. And here what we need to do is that when index change, so we're going to use an change function from reanimated, we're going to set, so here for each translation, we're going to use an animation value, and we're going to set this value for every time the index change. So actually, I'm going to use a block here. I need to import on change. I'm going to set, so here use an animation value instead. Of a string. Oops, sorry. Okay. Up. And here we are not going to use text, but we're going to use an animated text instead. And I'm gonna up. And I think so it's animated text is a component which I created, which is using a text input component in order to use an animation value to have a text to be driven by an animation value. And so that should look like this. Yes. And here we have the translations. Perfect. But now when index change, we need to set the values. So for translations, let's try with one English. Then we need to find the translation from the emoji list. So this is where I use Lookup, which is a helper function, again, that I created to look up an array with reanimated. And so our array is the list of emojis. Index is the index. Not found. I think there's a default, should be a default value for this. Yes, perfect. So actually here I need the emoji lists, but in English. So I'm gonna go over the emoji list, and for each emoji I'm gonna get from the emojis the English translation. That looks set translations. We need to import set. Okay, let's have a look. Does it? So you see now the English translations are switched automatically. Now we would need to do this for every language. So we could take the keys here. So object keys. So now we have all the languages, lang. So object keys of translations, we do a map. And so for each language, we can just apply this instruction. So language, here it's not English, it's lang. And here, same, it's not English, it's lang. Let's have a look. So it seems to work pretty well, right? Whoop. So I can test myself again with the German. Hopefully, so here it's going to be die Chefin. Ah, Korean. Yeah, but this is because you see the data is not good. I think in Simon's app it would have been die Chefin. So actually, yeah, let's try another one. Der Bauer. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. Die Richterin. Gerechterin. Gerechtigkeit. Yeah, you see the translations I think are not good. Structure doesn't seem. So art scene. Yeah. Anyways. And so also I think was pretty straightforward. I'm building more and more like lots of reanimated helpers. So for instance, here to display the some texts depending on an animation value. Here I'm using this very convenient lookup function. So I'm gonna try to, for now and there is interactable also, which I copied from the reanimated GitHub, and I use it and reuse it everywhere. Color interpolation also, which I copied from reanimated GitHub repo. So I'm gonna try maybe to build a package, because first of all, it's probably gonna be very useful for me because I always end up copying, pasting the same code all over again. And so if I make it into an npm package, I will let you know. I'm sure there's also maybe some great helper functions you would like to contribute to it. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I think it was really quite fun to build, and I'm looking forward to talk to you guys soon. And in the meantime, happy hacking.